Hey guys, I'm Paul from OpStart, and thank you so much for listening. As a reminder, we are an outsourced finance and accounting function for startups and high-growth businesses. We handle all of your bookkeeping, taxes, fractional CFO work, billing and operations, with the goal of keeping you efficient, scalable, and saving you time so your founders can focus on what they do best. If you want to learn more about what we do and you're having problems with your own finance and accounting function, just reach out to us at www.opstart.co or find me on LinkedIn, Paul Anthony. Happy to chat. All right, welcome into the studio, Griff Eaton, founder of Juke, good friend of mine, and has the honor of being the first in-person podcast I've done since I started doing this, which is a lot of fun.
Love it.
And kind of fitting given, I guess, the nature of your business, which is the jukebox for live music and the whole goal of getting people together in person and doing fun stuff.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've got a lot of fun things that we're going to cover today, but let's just start at the beginning. For those that don't know, right, you founded Juke, you said as a side hustle in 2019, basically with the goal of improving the live music experience for local artists and small bands. And specifically, you guys had a platform where it allowed people in the audience to, use their phones to tip the artists and request songs.
Exactly
so
right.
The spark moment for this, I'm picturing you a couple beers deep with no cash and just dying to get your song played.
It's exactly right.
Give me the story.
Yeah, I was up at the Livery in Benton Harbor, and I turned to the person I was with at the time, and there was a solo act in the corner, and I said, "Oh my God, I would pay him $100 to play any cover song I've ever heard of in my entire life," because he was really good. But he was playing all originals.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Man, just a little bit of the familiar would be pretty nice," but I didn't have any cash on me, and I was like, even if I did, I was like, what song would I ask him to do? I don't know what he can do, and it's awkward to go up and interrupt, or you feel like you're interrupting sometimes. And then I thought, man, if all three of these conditions need to be met, otherwise you don't get a tip, you don't get the request. And felt like there was an opportunity to put just a little bit of light software in that moment to help the starving artist. You hear the moniker, I later confirmed, that they don't make enough money. And I was like, I bet there's a lot more money in this room right now that would go to you if we could just enable electronic payments and maybe a little bit of connectivity, a little bit of interaction.
Yeah, very much resonates for, I'm sure, everybody out there. And that starts as a side hustle for you. You were just telling me the first version of this.
Yeah.
PowerPoint-and-paper printouts?
Yeah. So the first version was great. I just wanted to do a little prototype just to see, hey, if we could tackle these three barriers. So if you don't have cash, can I take credit card? It's awkward to walk up to the stage. I was like, well, I'll sit off to the side. At least it won't be, it's not totally eliminating it, but it's lowering that barrier. And then third is I don't know what you play. So the band we partnered with was Justin Stoblin band at the Iron Hand. I printed out all the songs that they knew. And then I also brought in my TV from my living room. And I brought it in, set it up behind the stage. And then I was sitting off to the side. I was running Google's PowerPoint. And as people would come up to me, so they'd sit down, there'd be the paper sheets of all the songs. And then they'd come up to me and they go, wait, so I can request here? And I'm like, yeah. And then they see my Square reader and they go, and I can tip with my credit card? I go, yeah. They're like, oh, this is awesome. And they go back to their table, they think about some songs, they come back up. And then I'd enter them in Google PowerPoint, and it was up on the TV behind them. And it was 3 out of every 4 groups that came in, requested a song, and the band made $120 instead of what they presumed would have been they were on a show like this on a Sunday afternoon, probably would have made $20.
Huh.
Yeah. And there was another fun moment. There was an older couple that came in and he requested Tennessee whiskey. And then once that song came on, next thing you know, he and his wife and the couple they were with all popped up and started dancing.
Oh. You
got to think when they left the house that morning, they were not expecting I'm going to be dancing at Iron Hand that afternoon
to our song.
Yeah, and it was pretty cool. Pretty cool little moment. And he tipped, and I was like, all right, this is good. I was expecting to do 3 of those tests to just sort of get a sense of does anyone care? And after that experience, the next day I called basically one of the only guys I know who does coding. I knew nothing about it. And I said, it was Ryan Krieger. I said, Ryan, I want to make this thing. How hard is it? Can I do it with what do I need? Can I get away with like a Notre Dame intern, or do I need a pro? And next thing you know, he goes, well, that sounds pretty cool. I got a little time. I can make that for you. So that was how it started.
And then Ryan builds the version for you that is much more tech enabled. So we're scanning QR codes. It brings you to the account. You've got the song list now on your phone. You pick it. You tip per the song. You can see the live leaderboard. And I've been on both sides of that. So I would think if you ran your customer data, I've been a pretty frequent tipper at shows because I love live music and obviously supporting you. And I've also been on the artist side as well for some of my charity events that we run for Puente, the nonprofit I co-founded. We've actually gotten up and done music and raised a bunch of money using Juke to collect tips from people in the crowd who want to support and want to hear their song. And it was really simple to set up and worked really well. But I don't want to skip some steps here because you've pivoted past that version as well. When did you go from this being a side hustle that you're kind of building out in the background to actually launching full time?
So, all those tests happened before COVID. We were about to roll out the actual first version of the MVP, and then the world shut down. We kind of tabled everything.
So you were about to launch when COVID hits, a live music platform right when COVID hits.
Yep. Like weeks before, or like the week of, I think was going to be our, right when, what was it? South by Southwest got canceled and all that. We were going to do our first show back at Iron Hand. World shuts down, and then duties to my primary employer ramp back up, so that we kind of didn't touch anything to do with this for another 4 to 6 months. And then in November of 2020, we went back to Iron Hand and did our first test, and it went awesome.
Great. And you end up winning a business plan competition here at Notre Dame, McCloskey New Venture Competition in May of 21.
Yep, about 6 months after that.
That has a $50,000 grand prize. Is that what now motivates you? Like, I can quit my job and go do this?
Yeah, it was it was a bit of that, but mostly I just felt conviction that there was something here. We had
the validation more than the money.
We'd validated enough things that I had conviction in my mind that I was like, all right, because that was how I started this whole process. From the first idea was, hey, I want to request a song, but so what? And then, does anyone else want to? So I talked to some other folks, and they're like, yeah, that sounds fun. I don't sing. I don't play any instruments. I've never been in a band. And so then I started talking to a bunch of artists about what is their challenge. And so at each step, I was like, okay, well, all right, well, that hypothesis now has a little more evidence, and I had a little more conviction in it. And then we ran the prototype test, and that went good. And then we did the MVP, and that went well. We ended up working with, even internationally, with a touring Irish band during that time, and they loved it. And so there was just enough conviction that I had. I was like, okay, there's a problem to be solved here. And I was like, if I don't kind of chase this, I'll regret it. And then, fortunately, also because of South Bend's, I've been in the community for a number of years, and was
specifically in the startup community too. Like, you're part of what I would call the Wembley Mafia. That's South Bend's version of PayPal. But shout out that guy who owns and built this whole building, Chris. And John Henry over at Notre Dame, and Gary Gigot, kind of a legend in the community. All spun out of Wembley, which was one of the first tech startups here that had some traction, right?
Exactly. And I had I was fortunate enough to have a number of people that either were my bosses at Wembley or had invested in Wembley, who knew I was doing this, and they said, hey, if you actually do it, count me in for a check. And so I had about 300 or so, already sort of soft circled if I did do it. And then we win the McCloskey competition. I was like, all right, let's do it. And that was when also Tim Connors reached out to me.
Tim Connors, also our lead investor in the GOAT.
And that was when we also at the same time joined his venture studio.
Yeah, platform.
Yep.
Yep. Talk to me a little bit about the venture studio experience. I'm also a big fan of platform, but what did that do for you? And if there's other founders thinking about the venture studio route, what would you say about it?
Yeah, I deliberated a lot about it.
There's a real cost associated.
There is a real cost, substantive amount of like founder equity. They kind of join. They say like, hey, we're the best co-founder you could ever have because they come with expertise, money, and like a team of people. And so I basically, the rationale essentially boiled down to, I'm a first-time founder. Let's have best-in-class partners who've done this and can help both operationally and strategically and all that. And so I'm very happy I made the decision. So it was 3 years we were doing that, and we kind of had to pivot a bunch of times. And not pivot, but we'd really do a lot of experiments with, is it artists? What size artists? Do we try venues? What channels? So really it was helpful to have their expertise on also, like, the market changed a lot during those 3 years, fundraising and what investors were looking at as far as metrics and growth and evidence. And so having their expertise and being a little bit early to kind of, I don't know, just adapt to whatever was happening was really helpful.
Yeah, you and I both sort of got into this and raised money right before the venture market cooled substantially. And there are a lot of companies we work with that had the same experience and did not make it through the shutdown, right? Which it was really tough to have the goalposts move as dramatically as they did at that point. But, we're both still here, which is great. The first, I realized before this, the first restaurant that we met at, we grabbed beers at a place called The Bucket here in town, actually no longer exists either. So it's cool that both of us somehow are still alive with it. But I do know you guys had to go through a lot of those pivots, and specifically, my sense is you always had the right problem, right? That hypothesis you talked about has always been true, but finding the product market channel fit that Tim talks about a lot, not just product market, but how do you reach them with the sales channel and the right unit economics has been a challenge. And you guys have taken some crazy iterations through that journey. So talk to me a little bit about first, just what it was like trying to scale directly to artists and venues at this small local scale, and then going up market from there.
Yeah. So initial target was the small artist, the kind of non-ticketed solo duos and trios. And the hardest part was putting it in their hands, with a low enough CAC.
Yeah.
And we tried a million different channels, from Facebook groups that were just for artists, whether they were national or regional. We thought we cracked it when we started having venues who would host artists who were using Juke go, oh, that's cool. I like that experience for my guests. They reached out to us and said, can I kind of give this to, or encourage all of the artists to use it?
Right.
And that, that still didn't work, just uptick all the way down the chain of, venues got busy doing venue things and wouldn't introduce, wouldn't always include it in their sort of forwards to the artists.
And even as easy it is to use on the artist side, right? You do need them to plug in their request lists and make certain decisions up
front. Print out a QR code. And so then we started sending boxes of people with QR codes. And so we then, in that market, I'm super passionate about, because we can make meaningful impact to their revenue, but we just need to make it easy enough for them to adopt it. Totally. And so that was just becoming challenging. So then we met a handful of artists who were larger and had built in, it was like these sort of shows that were all integrated in Vegas and Myrtle Beach, Hawaii, cruise ships, and it was all kind of all in one. And so they also had access to the video board. And so that opened up the aperture of what is fan engagement at a live music show, especially if we've got a big video board. That went well with that client. We tried to get more of them, but but that market was too small. And we started getting some touring acts. We finally landed an awesome major live music touring act. We still have as a client today. And I thought, we'll now just start getting more of these. But the sales process was very difficult. And then we came back around but the benefit of that was it expanded all of our kind of interaction capabilities. It expanded our platform. We could now work really well with a venue. So we added enough capabilities to say, yes, we can service artists and artists of all types and sizes, and then venues. And so it kind of was able to put us back into one of our initial visions and hopes was that live music could be, not only could you make one show, just improve the connection, improve
more
the
interactive,
tips, more interactive, but could we do that in a whole community?
Yeah.
By basically expanding that same concept of connecting the artist to the fan in the venue. It's like, well, let's connect them before, during, and after the show.
Yeah.
And make sure people are aware of all the music.
Yeah.
Can we bring people have a say in not just the show, but the whole community and what types of acts are coming in?
Yeah.
And so we started experimenting with that, call it 18 months ago. And that's now where we're focused, really caught some traction.
All right. Before we get there, because that's where I want to spend the most time, you actually made it upstream from the smallest of venues to some of literally the largest in the country.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So talk to me quickly about that experience, and was that, I guess, a channel that worked for you, or why not?
Yeah. So, I mean, it was when we started working with, so Kids Bop is our touring act. They have a Live Nation tour. They're in Wembley. So they're in Wembley Stadium, Red Rocks, Jones Beach. Pretty amazing. So like Juke is integrated into their show. It's awesome. And so that was a pretty cool experience. Just seeing it up on these stadiums, just like the TikTok videos they'd share, the Instagram reels they'd share when I wasn't, seeing the Juke logo up on the stage and the fans going nuts was pretty cool.
Really cool.
And then along that way though, we had a bunch of other awesome conversations with managers of kind of the who's who in the music industry. We did a show, a stream show with Matchbox 20.
Huh. And
that was a surreal moment because I jump on a Zoom call and like Rob Thomas is there.
Is this before the Barbie bump they got?
It was during the Barbie bump.
There you go.
And they were chatting about, I won't disclose their private conversation, but they were chatting about that exact thing when I hopped on.
That's crazy.
And that was a weird moment. I was like, this all, 2 years ago, call it, I was sitting in the bar, like wanting to request Wonderwall. And like now I'm on the phone with Rob Thomas, who is, I'm a man of a certain age. So Rob was a big deal when I was
absolutely
when I was a bit younger.
Yeah.
And so that was a cool moment. And we did a handful of things with them that were streamed. We couldn't, and we couldn't quite cross into their production and their tour, just because like so much is on the line. Those shows are so programmed and they invest so much into it. And the first tour was awesome. And they were like, I don't know if we don't want to, we're not going to, we're going to keep rolling with what they're doing. So, but it felt like, okay, there's stuff here. Who's the next, Matchbox 20 that we could work with?
Yeah. Are you still pursuing kind of those larger venues, larger artists opportunities?
Opportunistically.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, I think we proven that it works great. There's a bit of a Goldilocks. You got to get in front of the right team, far enough out from their tour so that they can plan in the interaction into their production, into their creative process, and then the tour starts. So there's a real you just kind of have to have the right team at the right time, at the right pitch. And so all of that, we had to learn all that because I didn't come from the music industry. All of those conditions kind of needed to be met. So as I'm hopeful that we'll find others because it's really fun.
Yeah.
But it is not where we're outwardly focused and chasing those right now.
Yeah, you hinted at this earlier, but you guys sort of refocused on the initial
Yep.
problem you wanted to solve and the initial market that you were addressing, but with a new, I guess, lens on it that you think, I mean, both obviously it excites you personally, but you also think that the economics work a little bit better. And this is what you're calling Music Town, right? Tell me about Music Town.
Yeah, so it was, the initial inspiration was essentially prior to moving back to South Bend. I'd been living in a couple different bigger cities like Dallas and Denver. Music was pretty common, see a lot of live shows. And so I was in the habit of just looking out for live music. And every once in a while, you'd be talking with your buddies, what do you want to do tonight? Live music was in the Rolodex of things. We'd quickly find a show, find a place that had some music and go to it. And then when I got here for the first year, I was still that behavior was, I don't know, it was still occurring. I was still doing it, but but routinely I would kind of look, wouldn't find anything more often than not, and after about a year, I'd stop looking.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, I was just sort of reflecting on that, thinking like, I bet there's a lot of folks who've probably stopped looking for live music, which creates this sort of this negative cycle. Where people aren't looking, venues aren't investing in it, so there's because they don't guarantee. It's not certain. Like, well, maybe the market here doesn't want it.
Yeah.
And it felt like if we could catalyze the scene, de-risk it for venues, and have residents start going, oh wow, there's actually a lot of music here, and then they're going to start looking for it again, and reverse that sort of negative cycle and have it be more positive.
The discovery problem is so real. I mean, like I lived in Chicago previously, and we would go see live shows all the time. But part of that was because, for one, you knew that there were venues that had it every night. You know what I mean? Like, we could go up to Kingston Mines to see live music. We could go to Joe's on Weed and see live music. There are great spots all around. There weren't places in South Bend that had that. Nope. And I'll shout out our producer here, Michael Yoder, actually is now changing that with Stockroom East, which is an awesome spot that does have a lot of great shows here. But that didn't exist in South Bend when you were starting this.
Oh, no.
And it's still few and far between. And they're also, like, the local bands here don't quite have the notoriety of some of the ones in Chicago that, like, when Rod Tough Curls was playing, you already followed them on Facebook or whatever and knew about it. So it was just like I would stumble accidentally into live shows here and always think, I wish there was a good way for me to know when this is happening again. And there wasn't.
Yep. And you'd also hear people say all the time of other towns, you'd not know it, but such and such town's a pretty good music town.
Yeah.
And it just felt like, why not us?
Yeah,
why
what
not
does that
South
mean?
Bend? Why not Elkhart? There's probably a lot of, just basically meant like, oh, we just need more music.
But there's talent everywhere and there's interest everywhere. So it just does become a problem of matching demand and supply.
Yeah.
So Music Town, your solution, I guess, on this, I kind of interrupted, but.
Oh, yeah. So I suppose the initial vision of how we would get there is we'd work through the small artists.
Yeah.
And we'd have maybe we'd have all the small artists in a community.
One by one, one
Juke.
artist to one venue.
And then add the venues. And this version, we've been able to start talking with cities and visitors bureaus and like economic development. And this is a problem that they're trying to solve. Is like, how do we bring vibrancy to our downtown?
Yeah.
I just saw a Wall Street Journal article maybe 3 months ago about this really innovative solution that whatever town it was leaning into. It was happy hour. And so as we talk to different economic development teams around the country, it's like, this is a challenge they're really thinking about and they're struggling with of how do we kind of reinvigorate Main Street.
Yeah.
And, live music is a great way to do it. And they're looking for a solution. And so we can kind of come in with a turnkey live music solution that helps this sort of macro issue that they have around quality of place, talent, attraction, and retention, being able to recruit, these tournaments and other activity conferences so that they can say, hey, yeah, when that's not going on, we got an awesome downtown. Here's what's going on. But by doing that, that allows us to work directly with venues, and the venues then are de-risked, and they say, oh, this is excellent. I've wanted, I do music on Monday nights, but I didn't know if I could afford to do it on Saturdays, but I thought maybe I could do like 6 shows in the patio for the summer. I was like, is 6 enough to like really matter?
Right.
And then when we can come in with sponsored economic development dollars and say, we'll do 10.
Yeah.
Then they go, oh, well, now we can do our 6. And when that happens at 10 different venues, basically doubles the number of live music shows in the town, helps the venue. Now there's a double number of gigs for local and regional artists, so it helps the artists. And then the residents can see like, oh, wow, there's almost this promise. If I go downtown on a Thursday, Friday, or Saturday, someone's going to have live music.
Totally. In a way, you've sort of found a new angle to solve the classic marketplace chicken egg problem, right? Where you create critical mass one city at a time.
Yeah.
Instead of like if you go to single artists and venues, you could have one thing going in South Bend and one thing going in Indianapolis and one thing going in Nashville and so on and so forth. You do want critical mass in one area for the network effects to start to hit, right? And now you have this added resource with it. If you found kind of an end customer in cities and tourism bureaus in particular, that there are very obvious benefits to them just getting more people downtown and creating vibrancy.
Yeah.
And they bring additional capital that can get some venues over the line that are always understaffed and, undercapitalized. And that helps them have that additional nudge to actually do something with you.
You can see they have a confidence that if I invest in renovating, a building and having to turn it into a live music venue, that there is now an integrated platform or system to support the very thing I want to do.
100%.
And so it really de-risks. I mean, it's still risky, but it de-risks it to where now they're actually taking action and doing that where, there'd been a gap, particularly in South Bend, in this sort of music venue that wasn't as big as a theater.
Right.
So that held 300 to 500 people. And yeah, it's, you just see, you can see it from the venue to the developers saying, yes, like, okay, I can make this investment and feel more comfortable about it.
Yeah.
Because it's become a kind of strategic initiative of the region.
Yeah. So where have you actually deployed live now and launched some Music Town models?
Yeah, so we're kicking off right now in South Bend, but our first full year, I know.
I'm so excited for that.
So we're in the middle of recruiting all the venues and talking to them about signage and what types of shows do they want to do. And so we're still in the kind of prep phase on that. We just finished, and we're also in Elkhart, neighboring town. Last year was the first full year with the full program. And the most impressive thing there was, so you mentioned Wembley earlier. Wembley's like, it's funny how things can, I don't know, like how things are. So I learned about market research at Wembley.
Yeah, that was the company.
That's what they did, market research. And before we launched in Elkhart, we decided we need to do a baseline survey of the residents and see what do they think is the vibrant, like how would they rate the vibrancy of Elkhart downtown, the live music scene, and what are they like, if they can improve it, what would they do?
Yeah.
And we expected that we'd see, hey, vibrancy is at some number that, could be improved. We expected
less
to see
than Nashville, perhaps.
Less than Nashville, maybe a 6 or something.
Yeah.
We expected to see this live music scene would be like a 6. And we also expected to see that they wanted to find it. They said if they could improve it, we expected they'd say, it's hard to find shows. And what do we want? We want more shows and just like a broad, like more genres.
Yeah.
And as like it came back, so the baseline data came back where basically we got hundreds of responses too. So huge sample. Basically they said, hey, vibrancy is a 6. live music scene is a 6, and the biggest challenges we have is finding shows, and we want more, and we want just more genres. They don't need to be big. They don't need to be any of this other stuff. These all fell out, but the top 2 box was more shows and more genres.
Yeah.
And then we resurveyed at the end of the year, and basically everything went to a 7. So from a 6 to a 7. So about a 20% relative lift among every segment, young, old, and visitors, people who live in Granger and Mishawaka and South Bend. Everybody said, oh, this went from a 6 to a 7. Vibrancy lagged a little below, which you would expect, because vibrancy has live music
Too many
just one
different
variable.
components. Yeah, of course.
But it still got about a half, it trailed at about a half point. So in 6 to a 7, that went from like a 6 to a 6.5.
That a half point bump in what people think of the vibrancy of your downtown. If you were like a mayor, you can run for national office on that.
Yeah,
like that's crazy.
I did an AI search, deep search of like what is the, like how on these of cities, what's been the biggest lift as they do these national surveys, and evidently it was San Antonio. I don't know, in like 2016, had like a 0.3 lift from say a 7 to a 7.3. I don't remember the exact numbers, but whatever it was. And that was like earth-shattering news in that space. I'm like, well, gosh, this is like,
just did that.
We just did that in a few months. And so, that's exciting. And then anecdotally, you just hear people living in town. You can just feel.
Do you hear any specific stories that come to mind that were cool from the Elkhart one?
It's more just general. I mean, a general need is like, no, I just want more.
Yeah.
I just want more, and now there's more. So that's the way back. I was chatting with some people that consulted for South by Southwest, and they're basically saying like the thing that matters more than anything in a community's live music system is just continuous music.
Totally.
Just have it be continuous.
Yeah.
And so that's a big
develop
part
the
of it.
The muscle for it, right? Mm-hmm. The habit.
Just have it be around.
Yeah.
And
in towns like this, right? Like there aren't new restaurants popping up all the time. There aren't a bunch of activities that you always hear about that draw you out, right? So people get into the habit. You're not always going out downtown 3 nights a week the way you are in certain other big cities, right? And you sort of forget how much fun it is sometimes when you're just hanging out at other people's houses. And I think that if someone comes downtown for a show at Stocker Meast or any of the other Juke venues, right, they're going to end up getting dinner before.
Yeah.
Right? They might go grab a drink afterwards, bar around the corner. And the next weekend, they're probably thinking, that was really fun. Even like whether there's a Juke event or not, we passed this restaurant we forgot about. We ran into these people we didn't see. It starts to really carry its own inertia, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I think for a town like, South Bend specifically in this regard, I mean, we're a tourism town for Notre Dame football primarily, right? And I don't know about you, like all my buddies from undergrad and various people I know still come back for games every year. And a lot of them stay in Chicago and just come in for the day of the game, right? And the friends that I have that are a little bit closer that come and stay a night with me now always want to actually stay in South Bend for the weekends moving forward. They're like, I didn't know that the Cascade restaurant exists. There was nothing like that when I lived here. I didn't know that we'd go see a show at Stocker Meast. I didn't know you guys have a casino in town now. Just giving people that excuse to be here, like with Juke, right? If you guys had something going on around Notre Dame football weekends that just drew people out of the traditional hotels, where they've always hung out after games, or to convince them to not go back to Chicago on the bus afterwards, right? That has long stream benefits for South Bend's tourism and economy that are like tough to quantify.
Yeah, and we're talking to by naturally aggregating all these venues and all these shows into one place in a way that's interactive and update. Now we can talk to the Marriotts, and make sure that every person that checks in, has a card. Here's where all the live music is. So it just makes sense to just have it all. And a lot of these shows, because they're non-ticketed, sometimes they're in coffee shops, they're at bars or in breweries. It's hard to. Sometimes they're on the website of the company. Sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're on Facebook. Sometimes they're not. and we're able to just sort of deploy, because we have relationships with all these venues.
Yeah.
We're able to have the most accurate or like hyper local calendar of every show going on, from the shows at the theaters, which are easy, down to shows at the coffee shop, and spread it with the same amount of everybody gets the same amount of marketing.
Yeah. Well, that would lead to, I guess, my next question, which is a selfish one, because I live in South Bend and would like to be, tapped in on live music as it's coming out. So how do I, as like a consumer, engage when you're launching this initiative? Do you have like a Juke specific kind of app or page that I should follow that will have all the shows and ways to engage?
So the main strategy, so every venue we work with, also when we work with cities and things like that, the main thing we're doing is signage. So all the venues are going to have table tents, posters, clings, banners on the street posts, hopefully at least in Elkhart, QR code, all promoting. In Elkhart, it's, we're reviving Elkhart's musical heritage.
Right.
And so QR code, everything there. So that's the main awareness channel. It's just and it's not even always when there's live music. A lot of these venues are normal restaurants or what have you.
Totally.
So people are sitting there eating, scan the code, and then they find out, oh wow, tonight there's music across the street, and tomorrow there's music where I'm sitting.
Yeah.
So that's going to be the most popular. And then the other is we're working with all the venues to just help them make it easy for them to promote the live music that they're doing and that's happening in the city on all their socials. So we're auto-generating cool digital posters for them for Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, whatever they're on, and reminding them, because there are a million things to do, I alluded to earlier, and making it easy and reminding folks, make sure you share this. So that'll be the other big one.
Yeah.
But basically it's juke.live/name of the city / South Bend in this instance will be up, and then we're integrating. And it's a nice opportunity. We're telling the story of live music in South Bend. Like in the instance of Elkhart, nobody knows that. Few people know, certainly the younger generation, of what a rich heritage it has, with the manufacturing of all the brass instruments at Conn-Selmer and others. So you're finding out, like, wait, all the instruments were built here, that the sound like comes out of. And
I had no idea.
So we're able to bring a little bit of education and interesting information as well. And then we pull on the thread of, all right, well, it's not just finding out about shows and venues and finding out about the history. Now we're bringing them in to be a part of it.
Yeah.
What else do you want to see? Every show has an interactive component. And so you can start to bring the residents into the whole scene, not just into even one show.
Yeah.
And then recommendations get really good. If you tell me you want to see a jam band, maybe we can't get that jam band, but we get another one. Now we can recommend out, like, you got to go to this show. You're going to love that. So we can get really hyper specific on the recommendations.
The data that you get, right? I think a lot of us have found out as AI keeps moving that we didn't realize what sort of data assets we had. And now people like you and I that don't come from developer backgrounds can actually do a little bit more with it. But I imagine it'll create some exciting extensions for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The improvement of AI is just been.
You would have built this platform yourself before you ever put
I
up
wouldn't
the
have needed to
PowerPoint
call
deck.
Ryan all those years ago, which would have.
Nice that you did,
It's nice
because
that I
I
did.
also
I don't
like
know.
Ryan. Yeah, he's the man, another OpStart client. But it is. It's completely transforming the experience. Yeah. As a founder yourself who's been at this for, 5 years now, more if you count the side hustle time.
Yep.
Right. I know we would all do things a lot differently if we started again today, and AI changes that.
Yeah.
But what specifically, if there's someone out there that has a problem that they think would be fun to solve, kind of like you did, right, and is debating whether to do it, I often just say take the first step, right, and go figure it out. You don't need to have a grand vision. What would you tell people?
Exact same thing.
Yeah.
I've been saying this for a while. Like, if people are foolish enough to ask for my advice on anything, I tell them the worst advice is advice. But if you were to listen to it, just do something.
Yeah.
Just take whatever the next step is. And so, in my story quickly was like, I think I want to request songs.
Yeah.
Maybe there's more that do. All right, well, if I don't know, let me ask 20 of my friends, do you care?
Yeah.
And then, all right, well, if I don't know about anything about artists, do artists care?
Yeah.
Asked 6 artists. And even in the McCloskey business plan competition, all I did was just kept doing things to maybe start Juke. And then when these different deadlines came, I just crammed for a day,
Yeah.
put everything, and just told the story of what I did. But even, I mean, now, so, and also tell people the number of people I told, hey, I'm trying to build this thing, or here's where I'm at, and here's where I am. Almost everybody had something. Some people said, oh, and if you do this, I got a check for you. That was a good one. If you do this, hey, I got a friend in the music industry. If you do this, I've got so-and-so. And almost everyone had a little person I could, everybody had something to help me.
Yeah.
And so by telling people, that was really important. And gosh, I mean, now with the AI, it's almost like I skip a lot of these steps.
The barriers to create a new company,
and I would just make it myself
low.
and just test it.
100%.
And just do just make the thing, or a small part of the thing to test some part, and just deploy it.
A business plan competition is the perfect lens for this, because everybody, I imagine most of the other people in that competition had done things the more academic way of like prepare a detailed business plan, do a bunch of research on the market and the competition and the TAM, and create an interesting revenue strategy and talk about why it's novel. That isn't the way most businesses start in my practice. It's just, you just start doing things one at a time and suddenly it snowballs into something. And the other piece you talked about there that I think is so important is like, you realize once you do take that leap to go start something, everyone wants to help you.
Yeah.
Particularly, like if you want a hedge to get into it, go work for a startup, because like Wembley was huge for you in making those connections and understanding how it works. But even if you're not in the ecosystem yet, you'll realize this is not a competitive world. And once you say you're starting a business, everyone wants to find a way to help you and make an introduction and be a part of it. You know, we also kind of want to support that American dream, I think.
Yeah. You're spot on with all that. And the other, I think the reason we even met was Juke's a fun company. It's about live music, just doing fun things. And fun is underrated. Everybody else is trying to solve like really big, hairy problems, but nobody's solving fun.
Yes.
So we're focused on fun. But that is a double-edged sword, because as like in my seat, I kind of like just doing the things that are fun in my company. So it's like the product, talking to customers, even sales, marketing is fun.
Yeah.
I hate all the back end stuff. So that was how we met. Was so that someone else could worry about all the accounting, all the financing, and I could just go, great.
Yeah.
I don't need to worry about any of this. And I could just tell you, here's what I'm experimenting with right now, this market or this market. And it was cool. You could just be like, all right, this market's showing a lot more traction on this one.
I appreciate that. Yeah, that's our tagline is we do boring work for fun companies. You are about as fun as anybody that we've worked with in that regard. And that is genuinely my favorite part of my job, is being able to get to know people like you and play a very small part in those success stories. Like when I am at a Juke show, my heart swells a little bit and I'm going to tip a little bit extra because I know the story and I get to be a part of it. And we had so many clients that, you know, you do get to interact with like that. But there is something to be said about, you know, there's nothing wrong with building a very niche B2B software product. There's a lot of money in that. But for a while, that was all that the venture community told you to do.
Yeah.
I do feel like now there's been a bit of a pivot back to like, let's get out of the house. Let's have fun. Let's create new companies that are, you know, consumer facing, fun, even in your case, solving difficult, hairy local problems, you know, where there are challenges to scaling, but there's so much reward in doing so.
Yeah. I was just yesterday or today, Elon made a prediction that was about, seems to hold merit to me, of so much of our entertainment is digital.
Yeah.
And it's only going to get more digital. And that live thing, and then even recordings of just like movies you watch will be AI made, music will be made by AI, and whatever. Whether that comes true or not, I have no idea. But at least there's going to be more, certainly there'll be more videos, and I don't know if it'll be a movie
100%.
or I don't know if it'll be any good, but certainly the'll be more videos that we watch are just AI made.
Yeah.
And live will become scarce. And in his prediction would be, well, people are going to seek out that scarcity.
100%.
Hope so.
Mark Cuban started talking about that a long time ago too.
Yeah, good.
You know, just get out in person. There's now a real premium on that because it is so different from the rest of what we consume. And
Yep.
everybody who does it, you feel it, right? Like that innately, it doesn't need to be proven to you because we all know it's the case, right? So yeah, good on you for working on stuff that that really does benefit the world in the most fun way possible.
I hope so. It's fun to getting out.
It is.
Yeah.
It's the best. Hey, man, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thanks,
It was great to catch up. And for
Likewise.
people that want to find you and be a part of the story, where should they look?
Info.juke.live is our website, and it's probably the best spot.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again, Griff. Great chatting with
All
you.
right. See you, Paul.
See ya.